Okay, what's going on, you guys? It has been a couple days since I made the last video talking about all these stimulus packages and kind of all the buzz that's going on all around the internet. And so I figured that today was a good time to quickly do an update, talk about some of the changes that have happened and what I think about this and whether or not we'll actually see this money come through. So if you haven't been following along, there's been a ton of hype about the $1,200 stimulus checks that everybody should be receiving. My wife and I have already received ours, so you may or may not have received yours as well. But even having said that, the $1,200 stimulus checks, that's kind of old news because there's new talk of the town right now, which is the $2,000 per month check per person, which is crazy to me. And so that's what we're talking about today. I did a video about that last week, but there's been a couple changes, there's been some updates, and so I wanted to talk about that now. So I'm gonna be breaking this down into very simple, digestible bits of information. There's a ton of misinformation that's floating around the internet, obviously, because it's the internet. But I want to break this down, tell you about what the bill talks about. If you want, you can read the bill verbatim, word for word, but it's long, it's boring, not that interesting. So I'm going to break it down and let you know exactly what it's talking about. Okay, so this bill is very similar to the $1,200 stimulus checks that went out, but this one is actually like version 2.0. This is the $1,200 on steroids. The $1,200, it was great at first, but I don't think anybody quite anticipated how long all of this stuff was going to be going on for. I don't think anybody realized how high our unemployment numbers were going to be, how long people were out of work, and how long any of this was going to last. So the $1,200, it was a great gesture. It was perfect. It helped a lot of people just get by. But the problem is that's only good for like 1 month's worth of bills. And sometimes for a lot of people, not even that. So this is the solution to kind of combat that and to help other people on an ongoing basis. So the $2,000, that would be for a minimum of 6 months. And again, this is not proposed yet. It's not completely official, but in its proposed form, it would be $2,000 per month per person for at least 6 months with a potential of 12 months. They would kind of step back, take a look, reevaluate the economy, evaluate unemployment numbers, see if people have started to go back to work, if everything is kind of healing itself. And then at that point, they would potentially extend for an additional 6 months if everything isn't going very well. And as I mentioned in the previous video as well, if you have any kids, up to 3 kids, for example, you could get a maximum of $500 per child. So if you're Mormon and you have 19 kids, I'm sorry, you're still only going to get that max of $1,500. But think about this. This is kind of crazy. So if you're a husband and a wife with 3 kids, that would be $5,500 per month directly from the government, and you wouldn't have to do anything. And even I think about this, so this is kind of nuts too. So the average family income across the United States is right around $50,000. I think it's actually 45 to 47,000. Easy numbers will say 50,000. If you were to receive $5,500 per month from the government, that's more than you would make from your typical day job. That's just mind-blowing to me. And then to add the cherry on top, all of this money would be completely tax-free. So everything that you would get, if say you did get the full $5,500 per month, come tax time, you don't have to count this as income. You don't have to pay taxes on this whatsoever. So all of this sounds amazing, right? Just free money from the government. I personally disagree. This is not a good thing. Great. I mean, I know it seems like getting a free check from the government every single month is a great idea, but the problem is that it's not. This is detrimental to our economy. You can't just print money and hand it out to everyone and their dog and expect not to have any consequences. One of those things would be hyperinflation. That's one thing that I'm worried about, and it's kind of outside the scope of this video, but I did another video that I'll link over here talking about hyperinflation, how that works, how you can kind of protect yourself against it. So check out that video if you're worried. Again, that's kind of out of the scope of this video, but absolutely, you can't just give all this money away and not have there be any downsides whatsoever. Kind of switching gears a little bit, there's been a lot of errors and a lot of problems with the $1,200 stimulus checks. So I think the government had kind of a good idea initially to send all of this money out via direct deposit. That's great, you know, that's where you filed your tax return, that's how you got your refund. So it'd be a quick and easy way to give money to a lot of people quickly, right? The problem is that it wasn't so smooth. A lot of people still haven't gotten their stimulus checks. People have either opened new bank accounts or closed old bank accounts where they previously filed, and so money was sent to an account that they don't even have access to. Or if you're doing the mail method, then people have moved and the addresses are incorrect. And so there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now, and granted, there's 300 million people in America, so yeah, there's going to be a lot of problems, but I think there were more errors than people originally anticipated. So instead, to fix that, there have been some discussions with this $2,000 per month stimulus package, is how they're going to disperse this money without having all of these previous problems as before. So there's been talk of having even just like a prepaid debit card, that every single month that money would just get loaded back onto the credit or onto the debit card, and then you could use it, and the next month it would be refilled. There's even been some talk about the US Treasury dispersing these funds in like a little more modern ways, a little more trendy, like Venmo or PayPal. So if you're a millennial, you should be able to handle that. Can you imagine you're sitting on the couch and you're swiping through Instagram, and then you get that little Venmo cha-ching, and then you look down at your phone and it's D Trump, and he's like, "Hey Bryce, I got you, here's your money." Okay, last but not least, let's get down to the nitty-gritty details and talk about whether or not I think this will actually pass, and whether you should expect to see this money soon or not. Personally, I think that this bill is not going to pass. Yes, there's a ton of hype all over the place talking about this, but I think it's just the prospect of getting free money, and so that's what makes people excited. But just because people are excited does not mean that this bill is going to pass. In fact, I think the only way that this bill would get passed is if there's a lot of change and modification that happens between now and then. That $2,000 per month, I think that number would have to be lowered significantly, maybe in half or even less, before anything like this would actually be considered. Quite frankly, the $2,000 per month, that's just too much money to hand out that the government doesn't have. Even with all these other stimulus packages, the government is just quite literally pulling this money out of thin air and adding it to the national debt. We don't have additional money to just keep giving to all these people for free. Ever since all this pandemic stuff started, we've added $6 trillion or more than $6 trillion to the national debt. And if we were to give all of these monthly payments to Americans, that'd be an additional $2 to $3 trillion. Even just for the first 6 months. If it gets extended the additional 6 months, that would be another $2 or $3 trillion added to the national debt. That's just crazy how fast we've added that money, and that's not good for the economy whatsoever. Moreover, I don't think that this is going to pass because the way that our government is set up with the checks and the balances, there's a lot of different hands that have to touch this bill before it gets finalized. So first it goes to the House of Representatives, then it goes to the Senate. Then if it passes all of those people, it goes to the president, who then has to sign it as well. So there's a lot of different hands that have to touch it. Everyone wants to get involved. Everyone wants to modify it and change it and tweak it. And I don't think that it can go through all of those people and not be modified even slightly. And the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to change those big ticket items, such as the $2,000 per month. Another thing that I've thought about is the age requirements for this, and in its current proposed state, the bill says that anyone over the age of 16 would get the $2,000 per month. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know a single 16-year-old kid who needs $2,000 per month. That is just insane to me. Even thinking back to when I was 16, I thought $200 was like the world and I could buy anything. Imagine if I was getting $2,000 per month as a 16-year-old kid. I know that I would go out, I would skip school. In fact, I'd probably drop out of school. I would buy an Xbox and I would spend the rest of the money on soda and candy and just binge and turn to, I don't know what I'd turn into, a fatty in my mom's basement. It's not a good idea. And so I think that at a bare minimum, they should raise that age limit from 16 to at least 18. The legal limit, I think that just makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so in summary, I think the stimulus packages are a good thing. There are a lot of people that are hurting. They really are. I think this is a good idea. But having said that, I think there's a lot of little holes that need to be plugged first before this is really finalized and would be approved. And then I think it could be good. But I think, for example, the 16-year-old age, I think that's wrong. I also think that if you're making over $200,000 a year, you don't need this stimulus at all. You know, I think we should really shrink that subset of people down considerably, so we're not adding all of this money to the national debt unnecessarily. There's just a lot of things that need to be changed and tweaked before this could go out. So that's my opinion. Don't roast me in the comments. This is just what I think, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do you like this? Do you not? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a bad idea? For sure, let me know down in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I keep you guys updated and posted on any new information that comes out with the stimulus packages. But until then, I'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for watching.